but particularly I'm delighted to be here because Bishop said, I'd like you to come down. So when the Bishop talks, you got to do what the Bishop says. And so here I am. Now, let me tell you, there's record low crime in Los Angeles County, in the city of Los Angeles, and it's proudly messaged through the media. Record low crime, however, is not just because of law enforcement. It is my belief that record low crime is also because of all the faith communities that are here in Los Angeles County. And also because we have diversity here, unlike anywhere else in the world. Those are two elements that have to be brought into consideration. And then I think there's another reason for it, and that is that more people are talking to each other than ever in the history of our nation because of cell phones. And even people who have done bad things, they have cell phones, and now they're doing less bad things because somebody that has a friendship with them is able to talk to them about whatever their issue is or their next particular event that they're going to get into that's on the border of breaking the law or breaking the law. They're getting talked to in a different way too, because there are people coming out of the jails that are saying, you don't want to do what I did. Okay, so I just want to open up with this theme that your presence here is vital to whatever the future of this community is going to be, but the pastors and the work that they do is indispensable. Okay, so let's just start with that. All right, what I believe in terms of listening to everyone speak, is that we have to reinvent law enforcement. Now, that's a big phrase, reinvent. Not just patch it up as to the way it is, but reinvent what it should be. And I'm going to get to that. The other is to reinvent incarceration. Now, I know a lot about both these subjects. Now, I decided when I took office in 1999 that we're going to start educating people who are incarcerated. The GEDs, the high school diplomas, and whatever else the skill capabilities are, including reading and writing, that it's an obvious result of, my opinion, is an obvious result of studying why people come to jail. And it's not all based on bad character. A lot of what occurs, as you know, is the drug situation, where people's judgment gets impaired so badly that they wreck their cars, or they get into a fight unnecessarily, or they get scared of themselves and go get a gun, and before you know it, they're shooting somebody, and it's just a lot of complication as to why people end up in jail. But one thing's for sure, jails aren't designed, at least in '99 they weren't, to send someone out better than they were when they came in. Okay, and so the notion of reinventing incarceration is education. Now, when we did this, we brought in 3 charter schools. One was a full high school diploma capability. If you're in long enough, you can go all the way through the system while you're incarcerated. But one thing's for sure, you're going to come out with your high school diploma. We hooked up with the Urban League, and the Urban League has a program where they have emerging leaders. Now, when I talk about reinventing incarceration and then reinventing law enforcement, I'm talking about the value of education, not necessarily always in the structural schools. Education can come from the street, it can come from the church, it can come from a variety of places, including employers. Most people, when they hire out a job, they learn on the job what their skill set should be. And therefore, we have to widen the discussion as to where our resources truly are. Now, everybody says, well, let's get on to this funding situation and let's get the government to go do this better. And I agree with that, by the way. And we've had some very intelligent suggestions and some very intelligent assessments. But when we get right down to it, what we teach emerging leaders to ex-offenders is that when you teach a person who is used to not being characterized as a leader, you are basically restricting their imagination. You see, every human being has a leadership responsibility. It isn't just government, it isn't just teachers, it isn't any one particular level, but those who want to learn about their own capability need to be given the chance to have that education too, and step it up. So these parolees that come in with AB 109, they realigned it and they put a lot in the county jail. I says, I'm not going to be taking state prisoners and not educating them. It's even a more emphasis to educate these individuals. They have to go out believing that they can never come back. They have to go out believing that their skills are still capable of rising to the occasion. But I can say this, even with all the fundamentals of English and science and math and so forth, which they're studying, there's a whole element of need for them to understand the spiritual side of life. You cannot gain in this world if you don't believe there's a God. You can't gain if you don't believe that your life is a miracle. And that the idea that there is no God, well, you just tell me, well, how did the earth, the sun, and the moon all get organized? Because all three depend on each other for our human life. And don't tell me it's that big blast that caused it all. I mean, once the big blast happens, somebody's got to shape it up. And if God has the power to shape up the earth, the moon, and the sun, then you got to believe that your life is just as difficult to do in terms of creating it. And that's how I see it. Now, I don't claim to have it all like the pastors do and bishop. I'm a weak Catholic. But I believe there's a God. I believe that the magnificence of every human being is why I served in law enforcement. Because you see, reinventing law enforcement means that law enforcement should operate under, now we have a federal constitution, there's state constitutions, and there's city constitutions, but how about a serious community law enforcement constitution, which fundamentally is derived from the community, that can set forth the elements of what you've been hearing each other say, that we got to have a plan. But if the community says this is the kind of ideals that we want the law enforcement community to be in alignment with us. Now, I changed the core values of the Sheriff's Department to the following. And I'm gonna recite them, and then I'll pause here and let someone else talk, or someone might say, give me another, I've got another idea for you. Core values are like this. As a leader in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, I commit myself to honor and perform my duty with respect for the dignity of all people. All. There are no exception, including people who are in jail and people who we've had to arrest for the most heinous crimes possible. The integrity to do what is right and fight what is wrong. You see, there's no margin of gray here. You either on the right side of what you do if you enforce the law, and if your fellow officer is going off the edge, it's up to you to bring that person back in line.
Amen.
It isn't that, well, that's not my thing, my peer group's going to get after me. No. I've jumped in more deputies' faces when I was a deputy in 1965 when I joined the Sheriff's Department. I said, I don't care who you think you are. You're not going to do what you did while I'm your partner's radio car. Now let's get it straight. And fortunately, that straight talk resulted in a situational change. So when you're in a place, in a process where we're talking about leadership skills, police officers need to be trained to be leaders, right out of that radio car. And there's 140 of them now. I'm on a national board on leadership training for police officers, and LAPD has 140 officers going to that training right now, or it's just about to start. And so there's this widening responsibility to police. Your job not just to go out and arrest people. Your job not just to go write citations. Your job, with this Constitution I'm talking about, is going to widen that job. It's going to make that job more.
And therefore, it won't be so specialized anymore that it's only these things.